Aberdeen in Recovery.
Aberdeen in Recovery.
Aberdeen in Recovery.
Aberdeen in Recovery. We're here for you. Building that bridge from dependence to independence.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Recovery on AiR on shmu 99.8 FM. I'm Lindsay from Aberdeen in Recovery, and joining me this week is John, Joan, Stevie, and Steve, also members of AiR. And we've got a special guest with us today, Natalie, from the Scottish Recovery Consortium, which we'll be getting a chat to her today. First things first, how is everyone this week? Joan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, not too bad. It's a sunny day and been out for a bit of a walk this morning, but yeah, looking forward to hearing Natalie.
Super, thanks Joan. You're my reminder every week as well, actually. You remind the listeners that we do record a couple of days in advance, so any comment on weather may be incorrect come the time of airing. But yes, it's a lovely morning this Tuesday. Stevie, how are you this week?
I'm fine, Lindsay. Yeah, fine. Just fine. I'm getting on with stuff. I'm so busy.
Good stuff. Thanks, Stevie. And John, how are you?
Oh, not bad. It's been a chaotic week, but yeah, pressing on. And well, as John says, it's a lovely day. So I think I will get out for a walk myself this afternoon.
Good stuff. Love to hear it. And Steve, welcome. This is your first radio show. How are you this week?
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm quite good. It's just like Joan on this fabulous Tuesday. Sun's out, you know what I mean? I'm loving it. Aye, so I'm good. Glad to be here.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. Nice to have you. And last but not least, our very special guest, Natalie. How are you?
Well, thanks very much. Yes, I'm good. I'm enjoying the sunshine as well, although that doesn't mean it won't snow this afternoon based on recent events. So, but yeah, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. No, thanks for joining us. So as usual, when we have a guest with us, we like them to pick the music. So we'll get our first piece of music, and this is a local band. Natalie, do you want to introduce this and tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so this is a band called the Decadent Movement. So most of the band are actually in recovery themselves. They're just a really nice bunch of people, and their songs are just really catchy. I've got them on my playlists, and everybody that I've played them for say, wow, what catchy music, you know. So the song that we're going to play today is called Glasgow's Burning. So yeah, check them out on Facebook. They've got new music being released soon, and hopefully back to gigs as soon as COVID allows.
Definitely, they'll be champing at the bit for that. So here it is, the Decadent Movement and Glasgow's Burning.
She's a dirty old city. She's a work of art. She'll take you for the gold in your pocket, and then she'll kiss you till she steals your heart. She's a star from the ballroom. She lights the eastern sky. She's the smoke from the Carlton, burning from the city that will never die. Glasgow streets are paved with gold.
welcome back, everyone. So that was the Decadent Movement and Glasgow's Burning. That was brilliant, Natalie. I really enjoyed that. I love hearing local bands and new stuff. But yeah, I'll
Yeah,
definitely.
they're definitely a real talent. I really enjoy their music, so
Aye,
I'm glad you got to enjoy that.
definitely. I'll be looking at more of their stuff. Absolutely. So welcome again. And Natalie, I don't know, do you just want to maybe introduce yourself a little bit? I did mention at the intro that, you work for the Scottish Recovery Consortium, but it's just a new post that you've taken up there. What did you do sort of before that?
Yeah, so I've just joined SRC in the last just over a month ago. So my new role is development nationally of recovery communities. So before that, I was actually working in the Glasgow recovery communities. So I was supporting the development of the programme, of the recovery communities and of the volunteer team. So I did that for the last couple of years before this opportunity came up to support national development of recovery communities.
Brilliant, thank you. So what does that actually, what does that involve? And there's some people out there that don't even know what a recovery community is. So that's maybe a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. So recovery communities, the movement of recovery communities across Scotland has really grown in the last few years. So basically a recovery community can take many different models, and lots of different models work across Scotland, but some of them have charitable status. Some of them are peer-led organisations, so they're run by volunteers. At the heart of all of them is we would call them a LERO, which would be a lived experience recovery organisation. So that means that they are run by people in recovery, they're supported by people in recovery. So often you'll find volunteers will come in to use the recovery drop-in cafes, for example. They'll attend some groups, there'll be different sorts of recovery on offer, smart recovery, there'll be map recovery, there'll be all different services linking into that cafe. They might then decide that they really enjoy it, they really get great recovery, they want to come on and volunteer, and then that's where they would be supported by volunteer development staff to get training, and then a lot of these people would then go on to employment themselves. However, there's always a kind of continual cycle of people coming through the recovery drop-ins in that way. So they're just the movement is a visible movement. You'll see lots of things on like the recovery walks and celebrating people in recovery and the expertise that those people then bring. And obviously the work that the SRC is doing is trying to develop people with lived experience so that they can sit on national forums, so they can feed into government legislation, so that they have a voice, so that they can just support the continual development. And that's obviously what part of my role is looking at what support different areas need. Because some areas have got fantastic recovery communities that are really strong development, and they maybe only need a little bit of input from us, but there'll be other areas that they're really just at the start. There might be no recovery community, there might be a very grassroots level of just setting things up, and we can support them with training opportunities. Like we have a training perspective, which is provides anything from motivational interviewing to facilitating groups. There's introduction to volunteering, so it can be used as a complete blueprint for setting up a recovery community, or it can just be used to enhance a recovery community where it's at itself. So lots of opportunities to just help areas develop.
Thanks, Natalie. Yes, and Joan and I have had a look at your prospectus, and we've sort of, I think it was the training for trainers that for the was it level 1 for the recovery volunteering? Joan, I can't remember.
I'm trying to remember myself.
Yeah, but it was certainly something that we at Aberdeen in Recovery were looking to offer to our sort of members to enhance their skills. It's a really comprehensive prospectus. It's brilliant. So yeah, Joan, I know it was a while ago we done that training, but just to get sort of somebody else's perspective on, rolling that out to volunteers and how that can develop things. Joan, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry, Lindsay, I didn't realise you were addressing that to me. Yeah, it's just giving people the very basics, just about sort of someone early doors in recovery, just small steps.
Yeah.
I can't really think.
That's fine. Yeah, and it is. It's. I mean, we've been looking at our own RPP. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when I was off, and you guys were chatting about sort of re-entry opportunities and the opportunities that have presented themselves in the the last year. It's easy to focus on the sort of negative stuff when you need to look at the positive things that have came out of it. So sort of all these things, Natalie, you'll probably feel the same. There's a lot of things that, oh, right, we need to do that, but it's so busy and constantly going, whereas this last year's kind of forced that pause. And it's allowed us to pick up on all these things and develop them.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, even just in terms of you think of the amount of time that we would previously spend traveling from between meetings or between recovery communities, or rush hour traffic and all that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously for myself, just starting this new role as a national role, I've been very much focused in just Glasgow for the last many years. So to have been able to start a role, and I've been all around the country but I haven't left my kitchen, it's been fabulous. It's been that there's sometimes COVID has brought some positives, because it's given me a really good opportunity to get to know people throughout Scotland and see amazing work that's happening in up and down the country. It really has given me a massive sense of hope and joy to see all the amazing work that's going on. And Zoom and Google Meet and all these platforms does give you the opportunity to see so much more of that. Obviously, I can't wait to be able to just get in the car and head out and see people face to face and put on events and, really get down to working back out in the communities. But just as a stepping stone in for me, it's been a great, it's given me a real kind of head start in being able to visit sometimes from the top of the country to the borders in one day, which would not be possible before COVID,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're the same. It's with the LERO that you were mentioning, the lived experience recovery organisations. We meet monthly on Zoom, and yeah, I know for a fact. I think I've missed one in this past year. I think had we have all been sort of traveling to a central point, or whether it is all down to Glasgow, I wouldn't have been at every single one. I know I wouldn't have, because the time pool that has on you, and there's, well, again, pre-COVID, it was sort of like there wasn't enough hours in the day, constantly busy.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll operate a kind of blended approach. Once we do get back face to face, we'll think about, right, what travel is necessary, and what could we do on Zoom, and what would be enhanced by being in person, and just kind of do an assessment based on each meeting of, a blended approach, because we might as well use this learning and carry it forward. Otherwise, it would be a total loss.
Absolutely, and you'll be able to see Steve's in the conference room, sort of testing out our hybrid approach that we'll be getting, going forward. So when we can get back to people in rooms, it's giving folk that option. But I think with the online as well, you can reach places, more rural places that perhaps find it more difficult to get into the city centre, to get into meetings. Buses might not, or public transport might not be brilliant. So that there's a lot of positives that can be taken, I think.
Absolutely, and some of the recovery communities that we're supporting to set up just now, for example, we're supporting one in the Western Isles being set up, so that will be predominantly on Zoom moving forward, just because of the terms of the different islands and things. Obviously, there'll be live. Hopefully soon there'll be some live meetups for them. But just in terms of, some people won't be able to get a boat across certain days, and when weather's bad, they can be stranded. So to have this kind of platform that they'll be able to continue to use no matter what the circumstances at that time will be really beneficial for that community.
Yeah, yep. I think as well, one thing that we sort of identified was, if we're rolling out like a training courses, so if it's say a 6-week course, and if you're coming into a place, you might not feel 100%, you're maybe a bit fluey, or we've not gotten rid of COVID at the moment, so erring on the side of caution, folk might not want to sort of come in and be in amongst folk, so it's given that opportunity that we don't have to drop a course halfway through, they can still sort of take part online as well.
There's lots of barriers that it will overcome for people with childcare, mobility issues, even just easing people's anxieties. People maybe social anxiety would prefer to attend something online as a stepping stone into being back out in the community. And people, like you say, COVID's been really frightening for a lot of people if you've got health concerns. So it will take a while for people to be confidently moving about in the community again. So it's good to have the option for those people.
Super. So chatting to Natalie today, and I just wanted to ask you, Natalie, I know we spoke there about sort of what a recovery community is, and the following on from a couple of weeks ago, the opportunities that have been presented with COVID and stuff being online. But going back, way back, before your SRC, you were Northwest Recovery Community in Glasgow. But I just wanted to ask you sort of how long you've been involved in recovery communities, and sort of, in all your experience.
Oh, well, in recovery, so for the last 2 years, I was in a seconded post for Northwest Recovery Community. So that really put me right in the heart of things. And I, got so much growth from that position that I was in, to have the opportunity to work alongside a team of volunteers and the partnerships as well, working with We Are With You, working with the ADP, with, care managers. It was just really put me in the thick of things. But I was actually employed through Glasgow Council on Alcohol. So I was with them for 5 years, and 2 years of that in that seconded post. So before that, I had developed the group work programme for GCA, which is still used just now. So I developed a women's programme. And lots of little kind of pockets of programs, things like, self-esteem and confidence building. We did lots of different therapies and things. I'd also was involved with the development for the schools team for GCA. So there was 2 programs. One was called Know Your Way, and one was Which Way. So those programs were rolled out obviously in schools. One was a group work program, and one was a one-to-one program. So that was looking at ways for young people to build their resilience up to things like drugs and alcohol, but also lots of other risks that they encounter. So things like sexual relationships, any kind of risk factor that you would face in the kind of transitional stages of school. So kind of your first and second year at high school, your last year at primary, the kind of just the it's learning to build up your resilience to say no to things. So it's kind of moving away from the old way of just teaching you all the facts on drugs and alcohol and hoping that that's enough. And it's about building up the skills to empower people to say, actually, no, that's not for me, and to build up that confidence and self-esteem, and just to be able to be a bit more assertive. Prior to that, I've also worked in it was called AiR Family Support Service. So that was a rehab for women only women, and they could either be pregnant or bring their children with them. So it was the only one in Scotland that offered that service, and it was supporting women to rebuild those relationships with their children, whilst addressing some of them would go through detox. Some of them would, obviously the pregnant mums and stuff would have a completely different plan. There would be kind of early parenting work, and then there would be children's workers working with the children just on building up their skills and things. And then we would have like actual groups with the women and the children, so that it was like every aspect from birth right up to teens. So I was there for a few years as well. So lots of experience in lots of different areas of recovery work, from kind of treatment out back to like out in the community.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
Yeah, oodles of experience, and that's just what I was going to pick up on actually. So you're sort of right in the heart of the clinical side of things with the sort of residential rehab. And I just want to touch on that because it's something that's fairly current at the moment, about the availability of residential rehab or lack of provision in that respect. I'm guessing, sorry, did you say it was Aberlour?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It's no longer that service is no longer available. They've lost their funding. I think that means that there isn't anywhere that offers that service for women with children just now. Although there has obviously been a big financial input into treatment services with the government recently, which is fab. So I mean, I'm not sure if there is any plans for anything like that to open back up again, but I have heard people talking in different areas of there being a need for that kind of service for women with children, parents, and you know, and I think there is a service in England. That was the last that I've heard of that offers that. But as far as I know, there's nothing just now in Scotland.
That's, yeah, because I think I was going to say, I'm assuming the uptake of that was very high, and demand would have been high for that. You know, we often hear stories. We've had you know, a couple of women ourselves within AiR that, you know, if they've had their children removed, and how traumatic that can be, and how much that actually escalates the problem. You know, it doesn't, you know, and it can magnify issues as opposed to solving, you know, it may solve immediate danger needs, etc., but in terms of the individuals, you know, finding recovery, it's not conducive to that process.
Yeah. I mean, there are services, there are a lot of family services which are fantastic, but also SRC has been involved with a lot of advocacy services, and there's been recently lots of roles created for advocacy for people purely for drugs and alcohol, and the vulnerabilities that brings to people, that they need that additional support. And that's one of the things, is for women understanding their rights around that with their children, because it can be a big barrier for women accessing services, the fear of losing their children. So we hope that by supporting recovery communities to develop these advocacy posts for people, to support people who have drugs and alcohol issues, to understand what their rights are surrounding their children, so that they do have the confidence to access treatment, you know, with they can have those questions answered, and kind of get rid of that barrier, because there'll be women sitting who are really in need of treatment but scared to access it for fear of what might happen with their children. So you know, although there might not be actual residential rehab available, there will be advocacy services now that can work with women to help them understand how they can move forward and still, you know, keep their family together. So that is a positive step, I think.
Yeah, that's huge, and you know, I recognise that. I've had phone calls myself from women who are reluctant; they don't want to go to their GP because of that very reason. And it's how best we can work to support them. Absolutely. And the advocacy staff, Joan and I, we spoke about that on the radio not long ago, because Joan and I both done the advocacy course.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and it is about knowing what your rights are, and it's a real shame that that funding did go, because there is a real need for that and to keep families together. So hopefully with more funding that's there now, it might be something that's started again.
Yeah. And SRC's just employed, obviously they've just increased their capacity. They've almost doubled the team by taking on myself, and then you've got a few other new staff members, but there's people now imposed to their role is purely to look at, a rights-based approach, to get people to understand rights in recovery, because we're all pretty rubbish at knowing our rights, no matter what the subject, no matter what the group, or what, we're all kind of apologetic as our first point of call, rather than actually understanding that we've got a right to certain things and that people have got a duty to provide us with certain things, so there's lots of work in the pipeline. We've got some events coming up. We've actually got a rights in recovery event that's being developed at the moment with our new social events officer. So it's going to be a mixture of R&B and so people rapping about rights and so it'll be fabulous. It's just a really creative way to get people to start to understand their rights, and they do have rights, and getting that message really out into society that we do have rights, and that people have a duty to provide us with those, to ensure those needs are met, so there's lots of great work happening.
I'm loving the sound of that. We had Donna on the show. I'm just looking back, 25th of February. We had Donna on the show. So I'm really excited about what she's coming up with. But that sounds amazing.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I was lucky enough to work with Donna in Glasgow, because Donna worked on a lot of the events for the recovery communities, and she put on some amazing stuff for the International Women's Day and stuff. I went to one of those events with her, and she's put on loads of R&B events, and obviously heavily involved with the Recovery Connects festival, and she showcased loads of local talent and stuff. So fantastic that SRC have now got her on board. I think she'll do a really good job in just kind of getting creative in how she gets messages across with people, which I think is good, because not everybody learns in the same way and takes in information in the same way. So we need a bit of creativity, I think.
Definitely. Stevie, I see you nodding away there.
Yeah, just I agree with Natalie, what she's saying.
Yeah, because you've mentioned a few times in the past, like you're into your music and you like all that kind of stuff, rather than sitting. I mean, you enjoy your sitting guilds and you're learning that, but if you had the option to sit with a workbook for a couple hours, or sit and watch some folk rapping and doing that kind of stuff,
I think it would be the latter.
I'll make sure I get the invite across to you, Stevie, when it's available. I want to hear you rapping.
No, you wouldn't get me doing that. But it'd be good to see. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Great.
Definitely. I can think of a few of our guys that would love to go to that. I'm not sure how many we could rally up to do anything.
I'm sure a few would turn up for that one.
Yeah, I could advertise that, Stevie, that you're going to be doing a bit of.
No. That's taking it too far.
Drawing the crowds, eh?
The crowds would leave.
I'm sure they would. Okie doke. So if you've just tuned in, we're chatting to Natalie today from SRC, and we've covered quite a lot today so far. But I think just for this sort of last section, it's difficult to make plans. We've been going through the same sort of difficulties. We'd originally planned a new timetable for January, then we got locked down again, then we were thinking April. It's looking more like the end of April, beginning of May. So it is tough to make plans. But Do you guys have plans for the coming few months? What can people look out for?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, I was talking about we're developing some kind of rights in recovery events. So that will be like the first of many events. You know, it's not something that we're just doing as a tokenistic, you know, one-off event. It is a huge piece of work, you know, and SRC is obviously committed to putting somebody in post just to focus on those kind of rights. And so you look out for lots more events on kind of your rights and understanding what those are and stuff. Also, we're doing a lot of work with trying to develop recovery communities inside prisons. So there'll be a lot of work happening with that. Lots of development as well, of a continual development of the training program. Obviously, we've spoken with a fantastic tech training perspective for, you know, providing a kind of blueprint to recovery communities, but we're also looking at different partnerships. We're teaming up with LPAS, the panel of psychologists, and looking at developing some kind of training for, you know, covering kind of trauma informed, covering all sorts of different trainings, and then having that pathway to the psychologist, so that if you're supporting people in the community, you've got that quick pathway in from whatever the recovery community is. Just trying to you know, really link up mental health and addiction and recovery. Also coming up, we've got loads of different training opportunities, as I was saying, and we really would like to develop some kind of recovery development SVQ, because lots of people who work in recovery services will have an SVQ in health and social care, which is great, but it would be good to have one that was fully targeted to community development and recovery and you know, all that stuff. And obviously there'll be modules in there that probably will be covered in health and social care, but there will also be modules that will really help people to showcase the work that's going on in communities, you know, and get the recognition that recovery communities and LEROs deserve, and just so that people get a better understanding, you know, that they're enhance their practice. Rather than just doing an SVQ to say that they've got an SVQ. You know, it's about doing an SVQ that's going to support them to enhance themselves within their roles. So, I mean, loads, because we've obviously pretty much, as I was saying, doubled our team with all this recruitment. So loads of new energy, loads of new ideas. I mean, I'm total awe being able to get access to the shared drive and look through all the work that's been happening. I'm absolutely amazed at how much work SRC has done over the last couple of years with such a small team, you know, that they've linked up so many recovery communities across Scotland. I just think it's fantastic. So I'm really excited for what the future holds for the team. I'm just feel really lucky to be part of it, you know.
Excellent. And do you know, I remember before lockdown, and then there doesn't, or I certainly have, and I've maybe missed it a bit, but anything about the LEARN, the Lived Experience Representative Network, which is, that's sort of open for everyone, isn't it? I think, is it Facebook that people can get involved with that on?
Yeah, so get involved via Facebook. You've also got the Recoverist Network on Facebook. So that's a great opportunity for people from all across Scotland to come together and put up stuff that you've got happening in your area. We've also got like plans for lots of other stuff that's going to be coming up on social media that maybe be linking in with the SRC Facebook page, and then we can share that onto the Recoverist Network. But do add to that page, because any things like, you know, government questionnaires, we put survey monkeys up, we have loads of opportunities for people to have their voice heard in lots of different areas across Scotland. So it's a really good page to add. And if you've got your own social network platforms, and we really encourage people to share their information on that page to get more people, just to get you know, more people linked into your stuff that's happening in your areas as well. So yeah, social media is a really great tool just now with COVID. So do try and keep your eye open on the social media as much as you can.
Brilliant. And for anyone who does want to read more or get more involved with, or just to you know, bookmark and share and like and follow that all those pages, we'll share them out on our social media pages as well, and pop links up on our website too.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
And also, if anybody's looking to access any of the training that we've spoken about, obviously it's free to recovery communities to access. Or if you are in an area where you haven't got a recovery community and you're listening, thinking, oh, I wish we had something like that. Get in touch and we can support you to make that happen. We've got a whole framework there, and lots of the stuff like the paperwork that you would need for a volunteer agreement, or all the training opportunities the volunteers would need, but just all sorts of things that you might not even think of, like personal development plans for people, goal setting, just to save you having to set up any of that stuff, and you can really focus on what the needs are of your area. We've got all the kind of generic paperwork and stuff that you would need. To get in touch, and we would love to come and help and try and support recovery community development everywhere. We really want people to have access to the same recovery opportunities throughout the country, no matter what your postcode is.
Brilliant. Thanks, Natalie. So all training and stuff. What about social events? I know you mentioned the rights, another rights and recovery event, and we've spoken many times on the radio show about the recovery walk, that being the sort of focus of everyone's calendar for the year. I think sadly, the main event was cancelled last year. Do we?
Well, just now,
yet?
Lindsay, it's set to happen. Just know that we can't guarantee anything. Just like COVID is just kind of took over the world, but as it stands just now, we are hoping to go ahead. And if we can't do it, then any of the planning that goes into this year we'll be using next year. So through hook or through crook, we will get the recovery walk, because we know how important that is to everybody. I mean, everybody, my kids are like, when is the next recovery walk? Because even the kids love it. So yeah, like we'll do everything we can to get that on, but we just have to be led by the government restrictions as the same as everyone else. And obviously we want to make sure that everyone's safe. So just keep an eye on social media, because any updates for that will be posted to social media. Brilliant.
And for anyone who isn't aware, it's normally in September, September being Recovery Month. And like I say, we've spoken about it, several times, but for anyone who's never been to a recovery walk, it is just one of the most amazing atmospheres. It's recovery communities and from all across Scotland get together and have a big party. Basically, it's more than that. It's much more than that. So it's making recovery visible. It's sort of stopping traffic and closing off streets for a couple hours and getting right in people's faces, that recovery is possible. And here we are. And then we sort of have our party at the end in a field somewhere.
Yeah. It is fantastic, and it is about empowerment and about just not being ashamed and speaking out that not only recovery is possible, but just the assets of people with that lived experience and what they have to offer to society now, and getting people to hear those messages and try and reduce stigma. And so it's such an important movement in recovery. So we missed it so much last year. So we really can't wait to get that back up and running.
Definitely. So yeah, fingers crossed come September. But as you say, it's people's safety is of the most importance. And last year we all sort of done our own little things within our communities and posted on the Recoverist Network. So there's a good little collection of sort of little videos and clips and photos and stuff from last year. So it's apart but together still, I guess, was the thing, isn't it? So probably just to finally touch on would be your own plans for the future. You started a new job working from home. How do you see sort of, moving forward and perhaps, looking a bit further forward into the summer and coming out of this lockdown and getting a bit more freedom? Is there anything that you're looking forward to that you're not looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to just being out in the community again and seeing people, and have it, even if we can just have like little smaller events and just some face-to-face meetings, and just getting out and speaking to people. I had been working with Street Soccer Scotland. They were running some mental health groups, so I was able to go up there and kind of just check in with people, and we had a waiting list for people to join that, because that just how great the need is for just a better togetherness. So in terms of my new role, I'm so excited to get out on the road and visit recovery communities, come up and see you guys. Lindsay, I'm really looking forward to that, and just going out and meeting people face to face, because I've met so many amazing people over the last month, but I haven't actually met anybody yet, so I'm just really looking forward to just like getting out and meeting people face to face, for some elbow, whatever it is you call it. You're not allowed to shake hands anymore, you just touch elbows. I don't even know if you're allowed to do that.
Brilliant, thank you. And anything that you're maybe not looking forward to? I know I've been back. I've been back in the office for a few months now, and I was actually really looking forward to getting back. But it was then the weighing up. I went, I'm going to actually have to get dressed and put actual clothes on to go outside again.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to fit in any of the stuff that I did before lockdown. Everything's been stretchy.
Oh, super.
But I think I've not missed rush hour traffic. I've not missed like rushing to get the kids to school for breakfast club just to get into the office for 9. But I'm not sure how much of that we're going to I kind of get the feeling that a lot of places, if you've got maybe an 11 o'clock meeting, you'll maybe just work from home in the morning and then head out. I don't know that we'll all be rushing back into the office for 9 o'clock anymore the way we used to.
No.
But yeah, I'm not looking forward to rush hour traffic. Not my friend.
No.